Hey everybody, welcome to Sew with Joe. Today we are starting a new patch. Last time we finished this AC/DC Peekaboo patch, um, actually that I had on another pair of my 20-year-old jeans onto another pair of my 20-year-old jeans. So the knee is all done up and ready to go. I noticed one bit of an error, and this is kind of an occupational hazard when you're working with stuff this old and this flappy, exuberantly flappy. I don't know. Is you got to really watch out on the other side what you're stitching into, and I didn't, and it doesn't really matter, and it's okay. So where's the motto? There it is. It's not that important. So today, moving on, I have a small hole here that didn't quite get covered up by this large back patch style patch that I put in here. There's such a big torn open area. I needed to do something, so massive patch. Shout out Bear Brothers, rockabilly. If you're into rockabilly music, they are my definition of rockabilly. Not a paid advertisement. So I'm super excited about this episode because, well, for a lot of reasons. I went through my sewing box and I found a bunch of stuff I have to show you, and I've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, really good, positive world news, so stay tuned. First, we got to start off. We're going to throw in an Amsterdam patch. Right on there. I'm going to pull some of these loose ends out of here just to clean it up a little bit, tie it into the seam for strength, and then into that patch. And probably just lay this down and yeah, patch into it. Sorry for the framing. I'm trying to remember that you guys are there and that you're watching me. Oh, possibly. So yeah, I'm not going to tear this open because that would be terrible sound for you. There we go, that's much nicer than tearing it open. And so when I was going through my sewing box, I found this thread. I needed yellow thread, so I found this thread, and it's very old. My mom gave me this thread, and this is actually the thread that the bobbin that I used for, or spool I should say, that I used for almost all my sewing when I was in my teens, 20s I guess. Oh, I need some coffee. So, love this thread. I'm actually running low on it. You can see it's almost done. And this thread I found in there, and it's a bit better of a color match, and it also happened to stay in my hand, so I'll just find that other thread later, wherever it may have gone to. So yeah, I'm going to pin this in place, and we'll get sewing it, and then I will share some stuff with you. This, I don't cut things off of my jeans very often. I know that I've been saying that quite a bit lately, because I've been doing some major paneling and stuff. I try not to cut things off of my jeans. I try to lose pieces. I call it letting them shed. I let them shed naturally as I wander the world, and I like that better. Bits and pieces I take off, it happens. I don't like to, you know, I'm overly attached to things, apparently. If you're a psychologist and you want to let me know what that means about me, let me have it. So yeah, I think I'm just going to pin it roughly on the one side and then go along that edge. In case you're wondering, yes, I have been to Amsterdam. And yes, it is really cool. The architecture is amazing, the museums are amazing. The weed is amazing. It's nice, like if you are a partaker of the marijuanas, it is really nice. Back, you know, when it was illegal in Canada, this was 2012 when we went. It was really a really nice feeling to go over there and sit just outside a coffee shop and smoke a joint that you just purchased inside, having, you know, this beautiful, I guess you'd call it a mocha here, and out of the corner of your eye you see the police walking along, and natural reaction, tuck that away. And as I was bringing it down, I was like, wait a second, I'm in Amsterdam, this is legal, I'm okay. Have another toke, nod at the officers as they go by, give them a little wave, and life is good. It's just, you know, a lot of people use marijuana to de-stress, and then if it's illegal, there's the stress of it being illegal and getting caught. So it kind of counteracts itself that way, but now that it's legal, actually, and now that it's legal, it is a lot nicer feeling to not have to worry about every time you want to have a joint. You know, of course, there's, you know, still places, certain places you need to smoke, and that's, you know, like anywhere, same as in Amsterdam. But it's legal. You know, that's a big difference. Okay, going through my sewing box, I found this. You know, I've been mentioning my sewing needle is not in the best of condition right now. I found this. This is from June of 1987. I don't know if you're getting that. And you know, it's amazing what you hang on to. And I think my wife actually found this at a garage sale or something. Came with something we bought. And these are all carpets and heavy work, chairs and sofas, sacks, bags, hampers, deck chairs, canvas, coats, gloves, leather, mattresses, and I think seats is what it says. So yeah, a whole bunch of different needles. I might snag this leather one out of here. I know, kind of a shame to break up the set. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by this. From Troy, Michigan, USA. Manufactured in Germany for the Kmart Corporation, Troy, Michigan. Manufactured in Germany, 87. So these are high-end needles. Sorry. A little pasty this morning. I also found my pin cushion, which is a mess and breaking. So I'm going to fix that in a future episode. Clean it up, get all this thread off of here, and get it organized, and maybe put those Kmart needles in there. But not right now. Right now, we are getting out some yellow thread that I just about dropped. Sorry for the audio there. Snippy snip with the great little portable fold away scissors. If you don't have these, they're awesome. Travel kit. I take this as a travel kit. I'll have a spool and a needle and this and some patch material, patches, and away we go. That is my kit that I take with me when I travel anywhere. So, one thing I've discovered with this blanket stitch that I use, and as I struggle to sew the needle, that reminds me of another thing that I found in there. I'm assuming that this is a needle threader. Sorry, I was just reading the back. Made in Japan, printed in the USA. So, do away with eye fatigue. Looks like you put the needle in there. Maybe wrap the thread around. Is that what it shows? Yeah, put the needle in, wrap the thread around the little metal piece there, and then just pull it. So, I'll try that once I have a needle that doesn't have an eye quite as messed up as this one. This happened in a previous episode. And there's a little fuzz coming off the end of this thread, making it difficult. So I'm going to recut. Give it a little bit of dampness. Give it a little lick. And there we go. Now, when I'm sewing patches on, what I've started doing is just sewing them from the outside. What I used to do is flip everything around, sew them from the inside. Like with this on the outside, so from, yeah, I think you know what I'm saying. Now I'm sewing from the outside, and I've learned that you can do a couple of different things with this blanket stitch depending on how you pull the thread. Not quite there yet, bear with me. So one thing with sewing, you don't really want to rush it. And you can get pretty precise placement. You basically put the thread and needle about the distance of the border, the embroidered border, and then you can just kind of line it up where you want it, up, push through the inside edge of it. And I know there are cleaner ways I can do this. I like this look. It goes with everything, and it's what I know. If there's another method that you could recommend, let me know. I could probably do a hidden stitch from the back on all of this stuff. It's just this is very fast. I know I'm not a fast sewer, and that's not the point of it for me. Yeah, I'm just going to go down along this seam. and it'll be a little loose, and this is where you depend on your pins to hold things in place. And I didn't really pin this properly because I was all excited. Things to show you, things to come. So I'm going to snug that up. Another one through from the back, roughly where I'm going to need it. Really a precision outfit here, if you can't tell, and that's okay, because it's not that important. And I kind of like especially on these things, like, come on, threads hanging out here and there. It really doesn't matter, you know, unless you're in the military and you're burning off all your threads. It really doesn't matter. If you are in the military, thank you for your service. I've been trying to get into the reserves, and they're not having it. My physical health isn't good enough. So I'm actually going to push in through the patch this time to keep it seated a bit better. See if that works a bit better. Learning along with you here. And through there. Out through the seam. There-ish. Close enough. And round 3 through the right hole. I don't know. Oops. That happens sometimes with the loose ends. I'm just going to tie it in knots. There we are. There's house we go. Cheers. So with this blanket stitch, what I was talking about is you can either have the crossover all the way along the outside edge, or you can have it on the base of the border. I usually like having it on the outside edge, and I've kind of forgotten that till just now. So I'll start doing that. And the only difference is when you tighten everything down, like with a blanket stitch, you got to kind of pull and tighten most stitches. So with a blanket stitch, if you pull to the outside, you'll end up with a nice ridge all the way along the outside edge of that patch. Oh yeah, positive world news. Let's get on to some positive world news now that we're into this patch. I don't know if you recall a few episodes ago, we were talking about the Great Barrier Reef spawning, blooming, whatever you call it again. You know, been a lot of talk about the reef and many reefs, reef systems dying off. And that's scary because our oceans and waterways are a huge indicator of what's going on in nature. And when the reefs start dying, that's not a good thing. So the fact that they're coming back is awesome news, means that maybe we're doing something right here. And related to that, I made a note here, sorry. In London, the River Thames was declared dead, I think it was 60 years ago, 50, 60 years ago. And it has recovered to a point. Right now it has, they say, around 115 different species of fish, plus some species of sharks and seahorses and etc. So that is amazingly positive news. You can have a river. Wow, how am I going this far out here? You can have a river in the middle of a major urban center like London come back. That's a massively good sign. Yeah, I really didn't pin this properly. I'll deal with that. Pardon, I'll deal with that as I go along. So today we'll learn the importance of pinning. Going through the embroidered part is can be tough sometimes. You're going through many layers. So yeah, River Thames coming back. Great indicator of hopefully we're doing something right. Yeah, I've been coming in too far with those stitches. Yeah, see, I pulled in too far with a few of those. That's okay. If I was really fussy, I would just take my time a little more and I wouldn't talk the entire time that I'm doing this. So, you know, it's all good. It is all good. Since I keep talking about pinning this thing, I'm just going to throw a quick safety pin in, and then we will see how that changes the dynamic of the sewing. At the same time, I'll crush the patch. Since this is a little more secure now, I'm going to start going into the seam so I can get a little bit more of a consistent edge. So before I was, just so it wouldn't separate so much, I was pushing down into it and then coming back up through the seam. I'm going to go back to doing it the other way now, just so I can get a more consistent edge. More positive world news, going back to our transportation theme that we've had over the last few episodes. In Oslo, Norway, they have a container ship that does short runs and it is all electric. completely electric powered. And that container ship will replace 40,000 trips by trucks. So it'll be on, I believe it was on a more direct route because they could take it across the water. So you're saving distance that way, and let me check that number. Yeah, 40,000 trips annually. So that's massive. That's saving, I think it said, oh, how many tons, but tons and tons of carbon emissions every year. So that's massive. And that's one big thing, because ships are huge consumers of fuel. And if we can get some short haul containers going, and eventually maybe we can get some long haul containers going, because if you can have a system on a boat that's collecting, you could have solar and wind collection on a boat. You'd have to, I guess with the wind, you'd have to figure out whether the drag versus the power output would, be beneficial or not. Anyways, but you could have a lot of different sources of power on a boat. You can even have turbines mounted on the outside of the boat, so as the boat's going along, it's like regenerative braking almost. Depends on the efficiencies of everything. You have to do the calculations, balance everything out. And I'm going to go back to pushing through the patch, just because it's tougher to push through the patch with the thimble than it is to go through the seam from underneath with just my hand. And if the cost of powering container ships goes down, then the cost of shipping should at least maybe not go up. Hopefully. This is a trick. Sometimes you just fold a few layers of cloth over from underneath and just give it a push. Sometimes your hands just get tired and sore after a while, not complaining, just stating fact. Immediately my line's a little bit off, so you can see the difference there. We're learning as we go. And there's our Blendtec blender. The thing is amazing. Not a paid promotion. But it is pretty awesome. We've got, I think, like 1,500 operations on it already. And that thing, it just keeps going. It's 2 horsepower, 1,500 and some odd watts in a kitchen appliance. There we go. And if you really want to get that border consistent, you really kind of have to pay attention to every stitch. I tend to just kind of sew and go, you know. That is precisely. If I was doing making clothes, or you know, doing something a bit nicer, then I would definitely take my time a little more. Going through my sewing box just to give everyone a sneak peek. These are patches that I want to put on my motorcycle vest. No, not the Metallica one. But yeah, Suzuki stuff. Suzuki patches from the 80s. Rode a Honda Shadow. This time I rode a Honda Shadow. All the other times I took my trike for Sturgis, but yeah, this year. So I got to put that on there, and then each patch is like a bike that I've owned. So I started off with the Honda. I do have a Honda patch somewhere. Started off, my first bike was a Honda, then I got my Volkswagen trike. So I'm just gonna, on my riding vest, I'm just gonna start off with my first bike I rode, and then go up from there. But that's future episodes. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to that. I'd like to do it soon, before next riding season for sure. And that actually segues really nicely into the next patch that I wanted to talk to you guys about. It's not a biker, motorcycle enthusiast. It's another one of my series of patches that I've come up with. Because yeah, a lot of people think, oh, you've got a vest, you must be a biker, you know, a hardcore or whatever. No, I am not. I'm not a biker. I am a motorcycle enthusiast. And to me, the difference is just bikers are hardcore. I wouldn't consider myself hardcore. I don't ride everywhere during the summer. I do like, pardon me, I do like doing long rides when I do ride. But yeah, I don't spend my entire life on my bike. Wow. Cheers. Oh, throat's a little thick today. Alright, now that we've got most of that edge, I'm going to pop this pin out so I can make this corner properly. And some people just don't like being called a biker. And that's the main feedback that I've gotten from this. It's like, I don't want to be called a biker because I'm not a biker. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast. Nothing against bikers. Bikers are awesome people. I know a lot of great bikers. I don't know many like super hardcore gang guys. It's just not the circles I run in. You know, and if that is a circle you run in, that's okay. There's, you know, I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of motorcycle enthusiasts and bikers who know the one percenters and some of the nicest people in the world. You know. So just because a person has a vest on, don't judge them. Don't judge, period. But especially not for that. It is not your place to judge people. If you're angry with someone, forgive them. Don't carry that with you your entire life, because then they win. Forgive them. Walk away from it. Whatever they've done in their life will come forth when they are actually judged. It is not our place. Anyways, too heavy. Positive world news. One last thing, going back to the aquatic life, because I think aquatic life is very important, and it's a huge reflection of what's happening in the world. On the Seattle coast, 25 years ago, there were 0 humpback whales. Bummer, right? Just before the turn of the century, no humpback whales off the Seattle coast, which was unusual. This year, they have counted 500. So that is massively good. World news. Again, because if our waterways and if our oceans, rivers, fish are recovering, that means that our earth is cleaning itself, and it can do it. It just can't keep up with us polluting it the way we are now. What I'm looking forward to is when they start having those little machines that turn the plastic waste that you can't recycle, the harder plastics and stuff that aren't recyclable, turns that stuff straight back into a burnable liquid. So you basically get the petroleum back out of the plastic. Then you refine it. You can use it as fuel. I think that's going to be massive, because then plastic is going to be worth something, and people will collect it and use it rather than just throwing it away and letting it pile up in the Pacific on a big island, which they are cleaning up, which is awesome, which I mentioned in a previous episode. It's really cool to see basically fishing nets pulling plastic waste out of the ocean. Must be so satisfying for the people doing it. Can't even imagine. So if you're new to the channel, I did a series for quite a while where I would walk around the neighborhood and pick up garbage and talk about my mental health. And I tried to focus around the river that was close to where I used to live, and trying to prevent stuff like that from getting to the ocean. Just seeing that the stuff that I've missed has a chance to get picked up is really awesome. 'Cause, you try to keep stuff out of the waterways in the first place, but once it's in there and it's doing damage, it's leaching into the water. And yeah, gotta not have that. Yeah, humpback whales coming back. That's, yeah, so positive. I was going to say, because whales are people too. And, well, they're not. They're animals. But what I was meaning by that is a lot of, there's been a lot of signs of intelligence in whales. So it's not, not that there's some little slug that has no memory and just runs off of reactions. There's a living being in there. This pin out of the way. I like taking the pins out a little bit ahead of time, just so that the patch can lay flat and lay naturally. And I've gone through all the news that I had noted for today, and talked about other things. This episode's either getting really long, or I'm talking really fast today. But we're getting close to the end of this thread. We'll call it a day. It's just such an awesome way to start the day. Pardon. Awesome way to start the day, just be able to do some sewing, have my coffee, talk to you guys, just chill a little bit before getting into everything that I'm going to do today. Oops. Including knocking over my black thread. Oh, and I'm having a little bit of a rough day mentally today. I'm not trying to bring everybody down, just saying. It's a fact of life. Mental health is a thing. And my mental health is acting up. Just kind of like my arthritis today. But when you hear about stuff like waterways revitalizing around the world, you know, and focusing on things that aren't right in front of you can really help your perspective and help get your day going, looking at things in a slightly different way. So yeah, I'm hoping that talking about this stuff, and it's improved my mood already. So yeah, hang out with me, chill out, get a good, relaxing start to your day. Just be very dude. It's interesting, this needle has gotten sticky. You can hear that. I think because it's an iron-on, I think some of the iron-on stuff has been, because the needle gets warm as it goes through, it might be peeling off of there and sticking to the needle. It's interesting. I haven't experienced that before. Learning as we go. And I think it's okay, because it's not that important. It'll make it a little harder for me to use this needle. Thankfully I didn't jab it into my finger underneath on that one, because that was very close. Yeah, it's getting much more difficult to pull that through. So something to be aware of if you're doing iron-on patches and you're sewing them on. Maybe iron them on first and then sew them. Just want to make sure that this is a iron-on. I thought it said it was. It says self-adhesive. Okay, maybe that's what we got going on. Is there a peel off? Don't tell me the back peels off on this thing. Oh, look at that. Huh. Well, I didn't realize. I guess I could have stuck it on and gone with that. But live and learn. I've got a few more of these. It's kind of funny. I'm going to leave the sticker on though, I think. Because I don't want, if it rubs through from the back, I don't want that. Oh yeah, and I've got an open spot on the back. So to have adhesive there, that would be kind of crappy. Oh, these are, yeah, they're probably meant just to slap on something. That's too bad. And it's okay, because in the big picture it's not that important, and it'll do the job just as well. And what I'll do to see where the thread needs to come out, if I lose track of it, I'll just pull the thread straight down and then have the needle come up right beside it. And pull it down, keep that border going. all about consistency, and I'm not the most consistent person in the world. And I will continue to try. So pull the thread down. It's too far away, that's on the wrong side, there it is. It's a good way to do it. And before my thread gets too short, I'm going to tie it off. And if you know a better way of tying these things off, let me know. I just go through part of the embroidery, part of the thread, pull it through, sticking to my fingers, go back through the loop, tie knots, and just tie a few knots, like so, and so, and oh, don't lose the loop, and so, and the snippy snip. And there we are. Threads over there, and there is my spool. So, if you don't know that trick, I don't know, if you do any sewing you should know that trick, but if not, just there's your storage. I know some of this fancy spool designed in Germany has spots for your needles to stick in, which is, I think, a really cool design. And I guess this one, you know, if you set it down, you can just put your needle in it, but then I always forget that I have my needle in it, and I lift it up and the needle goes flying, and that's not a good idea for your feet. Or your pets if you have pets, or your kids if you have kids. So that is going to be it for today. So what we got done today, we reviewed and laughed at my error on this knee. Decided what patch we were going to do, decided what hole we were going to patch, decided what patch we were going to use, put it in place, pinned it poorly, sewed all that, and there it is. Let's see what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, on there, and that's the hole that we're covering. So yeah, if I had taken off that self-adhesive material cover, whatever, then it'd be sticking to my leg. Glad I didn't notice. Oh, well, I sure do appreciate the time we get to spend together. It's nice to be able to start my day off like this. And thanks for joining me. Till next time, keep chilling. Don't forget your cookie. Peace.